So thank you, everyone. Welcome to the Practical Broker Podcast. This is Chad Robinson here, the host of the Practical Broker Podcast. And on this podcast, we like to talk to industry professionals in real estate, financial planning, even some local businesses and entrepreneurs, all with the idea of giving us some practical advice. What can we do in our daily lives, in our daily businesses? How can we just help each other and learn from these experts? There's a lot of people out there in the world that are happy to help entrepreneurs and individual people, and I love meeting intelligent, awesome people and having them share their wisdom. Today, our guest is Milan Topolovec. He's president and CEO of Orbis Inc. It's a very interesting company. I'll let Milan go into a little bit of details about that. And we'll be covering issues, what it takes to be an entrepreneur. Milan's met individuals and entrepreneurs since he was a young man, and he's seen some great success with entrepreneurs and seen some of their failures and some of their opportunities. So he's going to share some of that wisdom, how we can structure legal companies, what entrepreneurs should do to set up companies like that. We're going to go into some things that, people get a little bit, they want to avoid talking about, but that are really important. Some things, some insurance topics and some forms that all entrepreneurs should have, but we don't like to talk about. And then a little bit about this pandemic that we're in, where what are some opportunities? What does he see for the future? He's networked into some of Canada's top CEOs right across the country, and has had some amazing calls that he's been on that hopefully he'll share some wisdom. So Milan, I'll let you start from there. Maybe you can tell the listeners a little bit more about you and how you started when you came to Canada as a very young man, and then you ended up getting into football scholarships and drafted in the CFL. It's a very interesting start.
Thank you. We came here in 1968 with my parents. Didn't speak English, didn't know anybody. We moved into a little town called Acton. 3 years later, we were on a highway passing a car, and the other individual stepped on the gas, wouldn't let us get back in. Hence, a car came from the other side, head-on accident, and both my parents died.
Oh my God.
And I lived. Moved to Hamilton, and thank God for sports. Football, which I later ended up playing professionally, I knew nothing about. I would go in the locker room and watch other people put on their gear so they wouldn't laugh at me because they'd be putting it on backwards. But sports is really what made a difference.
Right.
I played basketball, football, soccer, wrestling, and track all in 1 year.
Oh my God.
Those days there was no psychologist. You just got busy.
Yeah, you just focused right into it and dove into it.
That's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then you did scholarships through university, and then you were in the CFL for a while.
Yeah, I had some scholarships in the U.S., Florida State, Cornell, Bucknell, Idaho State in grade 11, actually.
Wow.
Decided to go to Ottawa U at the end of it all, major in economics and urban planning. After 3 years there, I was drafted by Winnipeg Blue Bombers, which was my lifetime dream since grade 10. I wanted to play professional football.
Yeah. That's amazing. So right from a young man, right, you've been very goal focused, and like you said, your dream was to be drafted by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and you achieved it right out of university. That's a pretty big accomplishment.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I see that, knowing you for these many years, is I can still see that in you today. You're very focused and goal orientated, which I think most of us entrepreneurs are. It's amazing that you had that as such a young man.
It's helped me along the way as a business person. Basically, goal setting. When I've given presentations at schools, kids would say, "Hey, what's important?" Well, goal setting. Whether you're when I was bench pressing in the weight room or doing curls or squats, you have to have a goal. If you don't have a goal, basically, it makes it very difficult. If you don't aim at anything, you're not going to hit it.
Right. Absolutely. It's interesting. I found quite a few professional sports players have transitioned really well into entrepreneurship. Why do you think that happens?
Well, part of it, I think, is the fact that we're used to getting knocked down. And as you know, as a business owners, we have the peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
Peaks are wonderful, valleys not so much.
Mm-hmm.
In sports, you're taught, okay, the play is over, move on, next play. Because if you dwell on the past, you're in trouble. So the idea of the work ethic as well, if you're at a certain level of athlete, whether amateur or pro, you have to have a work ethic. If you don't, you're in trouble. And same as business.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, visualizations, practicing goal setting, and you know, in entrepreneurship, your practices might be different, but we're still practicing every day.
Well, in football, when I was training in the weight room, I would have a book that would tell me how many repetitions, what was my weight, and I kept track. In business today, I also have it's a manual that I bought. And what it does, it identifies 5 things that you're going to do that day. And you score yourself, how much time you're going to spend at each one. And at the bottom, you identify, okay, this is what I'm going to do. When the day is over, you score yourself on 10. And you got to be certainly honest with yourself. You can't lie. If you say you're going to do something, oh, I didn't do it. So same as sports.
That's interesting. Tell me about that. That's something I've never known about. Have you been using this system a long time, or is it something more recent?
I've been using variations of this system, you know, Harvey's system and this system, that system. And I found this one to be a lot simpler. What it does is, I don't, ironically, I don't remember the name of it, but what it is, it's you identify beginning of the week, what are your 10 things, 15 things you want to do.
Yeah.
And at the end of the week, what didn't you get to accomplish?
Yeah.
And what did you get to accomplish? So what I do the first thing in the morning, I have a routine. I get up typically 4:45 a.m. I get up, get into a routine, and part of my routine is I do read the Bible. I don't go to church, but I do read the Bible. I read your passage. Next one is I send birthday wishes to all my clients.
Yeah.
And, you know, at one time people thought it was automatic. No, it's not. You know, if I'm telling you it's raining where I live, it's raining. So the idea is people get blown away. And if I can, if I'm close to them, I even, you know, call them depending on the schedule. But so it's a routine. Then I get into this book. And then you got to go, okay, what's the major thing today you want to accomplish? What's the second one? What's the third one down to 5? So for me, it's certain files I'm working on, working out, meditating, you name it. So those things, and then after your week is done, you also analyze your week. It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult, but it keeps me on track. Especially at times like this where we're working from home, it's harder to fill out those 5 things because when I'm at work with the client base we have and networking and all the things that I do, I don't have a shortage of things to do. But now when you're at home, you're limited.
Absolutely. It's interesting. You talked about getting up early and having, you know, reading from the Bible. One thing that I'm blessed with interviewing amazing people like yourself is I'm seeing the trend that almost all of the really successful entrepreneurs have a very strict morning routine, and most of them are waking up early, usually around 5. And there's a great book called The 5 a.m. Club that also talks about that. And the other thing is there's some form of meditation or prayer or spirituality. It's a really interesting trend that I'm seeing that, you know, people think entrepreneurs, you know, especially now you see a lot of this negative attitude that, you know, entrepreneurs aren't helpful and, you know, blah, blah, blah. But really there's so much about gratitude and giving back that most entrepreneurs have.
Meditation has helped me through the time, through some of the most difficult times of my life. At one point I was going through a situation and a client of mine says, you should go to bed at college. So nowadays you don't need to go spend $1,000. You can get an app to do your meditation. So meditation, people used to think that it was noise, that it was 80% of top leaders in the world meditate. That's a statistic. So part of that routine is meditation. There's breathing exercises. Basically, my son just alerted me to one. It's an app, and where you hold your breath for about 2 minutes. So working on 2 minutes, but we're holding the breath, and what it does is it just gives you energy. So, and it's real.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what, post podcast, if you could share that app with me, and I'll include it in the show notes, as well as that system you're using. When you remember the name or can send it over to me, we'll include in the show notes for our listeners and I'm interested in that as well. It's keeping organized is one of the key facets that that helps us be successful. I've used something that's similar to Anthony Robbins. He calls it the RPM, or the rapid planning method. I've adapted that a little bit, but very similar. You know, what are your month's goals, your week goals, and then from that, what are your daily goals?
I'm going to definitely send you the app. My son introduced me to it, and it's really, really good on breathing. And I'll send you the name of the book that you can order.
Yeah.
I've used different ones. Some are super complicated. It's like, okay, if you're going for a workout, like I have my gym at home here, it's all set up and so forth. So, but if you have to go somewhere for a workout drive for 40 minutes, you're not going to do it. The same with these books. If it's too complex, you know, it's like going on a diet. You know, how many calories did you eat? What did you eat the next minute? It's as disciplined as I am, it'll never happen. So what I needed was a condensed version. Say, okay, I still want to focus. I still want to score myself, which comes from, you know, from sports. Hey, am I doing it? And don't BS yourself. That's the key. Don't lie to yourself. Did you do it? No, I didn't. What are we going to do next?
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you, and I skipped over a little bit of your introduction, so I apologize for that, because we went on this tangent, which I just thought was fascinating. So you developed a financial planning and insurance practice really focused on entrepreneurs and high net worth clients, basically family offices, right? And maybe you could tell our listeners, what is a family office, um, and how you kind of evolved into this from just being, you know, a young man right into this very niche, high end market.
When I started working with London Life. I knew nobody in Ottawa, right? So I knew people that were all over the place because of being at a university, they're from the Soo, they're from Toronto. Yeah. But I didn't have a natural client base. So what it is I went from football, I had to make a decision. Do I want to keep playing or do I want to start a career? And I doubled my income first year, not knowing anybody in Ottawa. And I worked with London Life, okay? I did a lot of door knocking. The first year, I basically doubled the income. I was taking a university course. I was taking an insurance course, and I was also coaching football full time at Ottawa U. So I get into the insurance business, but I never wanted to handle investments. My idea was, our firm, we have a financial planner that does that. I'm not a financial planner. Now, if you're talking about estate planning, I'm a trust and estate practitioner. So when you talk about wills, I don't want to draw up your will, but I can certainly tell you what an executor does, what a trustee does, what you should look for guardian in, and the whole process. It's the same as if I'm looking at a shareholders agreement. I'm not looking at it from a sale point of view. I'm looking at what's it asking. And I was just reviewing somebody recently, and it was a beautiful shareholders agreement. There was no provision for death.
Oh, wow.
And I look at it, everything else is there. I'm going, well, how are you guys going to, never thought about it. I'll call the lawyer. I'm not making lawyers bad. We work in a team environment. So the idea is, when I started, it was simply insurance, knocking on doors, going up and down Bank Street and introducing myself as the representative for London Life. And so, but I always wanted to serve corporate professional clients. And so I decided, well, I'm gonna learn everything I need to know. So that's where my knowing accounting, knowing legal, knowing insurance, knowing banking, coaching. I'm also mentoring people that are clients of mine that'll meet with me and say, okay, what should I do? I want to open up a business in Montreal. So we go through the process. Why do you want to do that? Do you want to open it as a separate company? Why should you open it up as a separate company?
Right.
So the business evolved. And so the inner Orbis, the company that's a consulting firm, fee for service, came about as clients. One of our clients sold his business to a large company here in town. And he said to me, Milan, I wish I would have known you from the start. Yeah. We would have saved tax dollars. We would have had a lot less hassles. And I know you would have. But, and I don't want to be a hero. So the book I wrote, Beyond the Tipping Point, which you can get. When you talk about a family office, there's people saying, I have a family office, or people will say, why don't they do estate planning? I'm not rich enough. I don't want to deal with dying or being sick or family dynamics. So when it comes down to how we do our kind of a family office is, who's your advisors? Yeah. Okay. Oh, you need a super specialist in tax. Well, let us introduce you to one of the best in the country. So and what I do is, and I know you know this, I drive the planning process.
Yeah.
Family businesses in transition, I just wrote an article for Canadian Money Saver magazine, are really tough because there's a lot of emotional things that you're dealing with.
There are.
Kid in the business, kid not in the business, the two kids in the business, one thing is that he should take over when really it's the girl that she's a better suit for.
Yeah.
So what over the last 38 years, some odd, I've amassed a tight network of professionals. So let's say you wanted to have you have a family company and you want to deal with governance. Well, I have people that are top notch that I'll bring in, Jerry and Luzita, to assist you. And that's all they do, okay? Meaning all, helping families. So, oh, you need a corporate lawyer. I need to set up a structure. I need a shareholders agreement. Or, so the evolving part of it is educating yourself to say, okay, I don't want to just sell insurance. So like one of my clients said, he says, Milan, people that don't know you, if you gave them your financial services card, which has got every letter behind it from my education, they're going to think you're an insurance guy. He said, you're far from it. I've sat on boards of hospitals. I sit on boards of high-tech company right now, golf course. So to me is where I'm blessed, having the clients that I do, I learn from them. I can sit down with the president of Farm Boy and just have a conversation. And the guy's, in my opinion, brilliant. Jeff is very, very smart. Every time I meet him, I always learn something.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's like our conversations. I feel the same way. Every time I sit down and have a conversation with you, I learn something new. And I do have to say, in the entrepreneurial market here in Ottawa anyway, and I would even say right across the country, you're one of the most connected people I know. And you're passionate about it. And a lot of times you're just connecting people just to help each other and just to help put one person in touch with another person. And it's amazing to see you do that and how you truly help people.
Well, it's actually my passion. So I don't have to think about it. Even while we're in this, basically we're isolated. Somebody at the bank says to me, okay, this guy's opening up a law office, and the guy's asking me for a business plan. So I introduced him to an accountant that does business plans that we share an office with, and he's really good at this, done it 1,000 times. Yeah. So then I asked him, I said, well, wait a minute. And I don't know him. Remember this, we're just doing this on the phone. I says, who's doing your office? Who's doing your office setup? He goes, I don't have anybody. I said, well, let me introduce you to West Street Construction. Paul Bolio and Cato, his wife. So I connected them together. This morning I connected 2 other people. My passion is that. I don't have to think about it. So my book, Beyond the Tipping Point, talks about how to bring these people together. And the book is, if you want to set up your own family office, just take the book. You can do it. You don't need me.
Absolutely. And that's, I had this conversation with my son yesterday, and you're very similar. You love what you do. It's not work. It's just, it's part of your passion. So it doesn't feel like work, even if it's 8-10 hours a day. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but as my daughter did it on an interview, she goes, you're always available. Because if I'm free, even if I'm alone and watching a football game, I see you email me. If I can help you right now, it's like one of my clients, long-time clients, he goes, you get SHIT done. It's true. I could be in a meeting, and if you need something right now, I'll make the call. Whether it's things I've helped clients sell bomb suits in Europe. They were med-eng. I've helped people get doctors for surgery. I've helped people adopt babies. So is that got anything to do with financial world? No, but it's connections. I need to get a surgery. Well, wait a minute. I'm on the list. Well, here, let me introduce you to this orthopod surgeon that's a friend of mine.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of entrepreneurs that are going to be listening to this podcast, especially now. The world we're on, some people have been calling it the great pause, followed by the great reset. And, there's going to be a lot of creativity that's coming out here and a lot of new businesses. So what is some advice that you can give to new entrepreneurs or people starting new businesses that you've seen, because you've been around so many successful entrepreneurs your whole life? What are some, other than the discipline in the morning, what are some tips and tricks or some things that you can share?
Well, when choosing business partners, Be very, very, very careful.
Mm.
It's cost me in the past big dollars.
Yeah.
Why? Because you get into business, yeah, you do this, I do this, we'll kind of do this. So be very careful. So it's like hiring a person, except you can't get rid of them. So if you can you do this alone?
Mm-hmm.
So that's number one. Number two is make sure you're financed. And I don't mean having millions of dollars, just things out. How am I going to run this business?
Mm-hmm.
Unique proposition. What is unique about you?
Yeah.
So what? Who cares why you? If you can answer those things, you're going to do well. So I always tell people, okay, you can do the things the way it's always done, or you can do things differently. So even right now, you can be sitting at home and going, oh my God, I got nobody to talk to. Where I'm picking up the phone call and calling my clients, not to sell them anything, just to say, hey, how you doing? You okay? Yeah, I'm okay. I got a friend of mine that's in India now. He's stuck over there. So Raj and I just, hey man, how you doing? Okay, what's going on? Are you healthy? Yeah, okay. So you can sit here and do nothing, or you can say, wait a minute. And so if anything, this virus thing is taught is to connect. Maybe we're not connecting face to face, which is my favorite, of course, but I'm still in touch with people, and it's not a business thing. It's a personal thing.
Absolutely. You know, it's I had a doctor that he's a plastic surgeon, and his business has evolved a little bit in this time where he basically says all initial consults now he's doing virtually with people's on a secure network that he's part of, and so even the medical industry is evolving. It's quite incredible.
Well, it took me a while because a friend of mine, he sells companies, very, very, happens to be, his first name is Chad as well. And he always used to tell me, he says, I always have a first phone call or a Zoom call. And I used to think, man, I prefer going to see the person, have a coffee with them, shake hands, get to know them. And now I don't have that option because and I'm doing stuff with people on Zoom and a telephone call, and I'm still getting results where the person, I was talking to somebody there in business and they're referred to me. And the guy says, you know what? I really love your approach. And I'm going, wait a minute, we just did this on the phone. Wait till you see me in real.
Absolutely. And I've witnessed that. So for the listeners here, Milan, if you are running a business, and I'll give you a little bit of a plug, is, if you're running a business and you need advice, you need planning, you need insurance, a whole bunch of things, definitely reach out to Milan. All of his contact information is going to be here at the end of this podcast in the show notes, but he's a wealth of knowledge. And as you can probably hear already, his connections are incredible. So Milan, you talked about a little bit of what entrepreneurs can do. What are some things they should avoid? Where are some of the potholes you've seen over and over again people fall into?
That's an excellent question as well. So where I look at biggest thing, that's something that's bit me over the years, these opportunities.
Yeah.
I can go do this, and you can make $20 million US. You can do this, you can do that. And in my world, as well as yours, we've done so much over the years. I can do a lot of things. I remember one year a client of mine said, listen, I want you with me. I'll sell you half the company at book value, and you don't have to pay me anything. Well, that year, my head was spinning, going, oh, this would be cool. It's a lot, it's fun, da, da, da. And then by the end, I decided not to do it. Well, guess what? I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. So as a business owner, focus in is, what is it that you want to do? That's the big part. Now, what can you do differently than what is being done right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be the second part.
Right.
Get a business plan. Absolutely. Who are your clients? Who do you want to serve? And it's not, for me, it's about serving. It truly is. It's serving. So who do you want to serve? Who are your clients? Where are you going to get them? What's your network? And then I spoke to a University of Ottawa football program a couple of years ago. There was 100 players, all young players, right? So they wanted to hear about networking and all that kind of stuff. So I said, okay. So we're talking. I said to them, you have a huge network. and they're all kind of, you know, that they finished practice, they're all sitting in the stand in the rows, and they're kind of looking, what are you talking about? You know, thinking we're students. I said, okay, in this room you have 100 people. Have you met everybody in this room? And if you haven't, why haven't you? Here's your network. So to me, it's about network, and the idea, because to me is, you could be in a construction business. If you're in my network, you're going to get business.
Right.
If you're going to, because it's just natural. But who do you know? And part of it is, as business owners, our egos sometimes won't let you ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many good people in Ottawa and anywhere else that were willing to mentor you. I mentor people. The advantage I have is the clients I have are at a different level, and they're not all multimillionaires or billionaires, but I do have my fair share. So what I do is basically is I have the option. I can go to the president of this company or this company, or I can say, listen, can we have a coffee? Can we go for lunch?
Right.
And you learn so much. And just do yourself a favor. Ask for a mentor. Ask somebody to mentor you that you really respect. So that's another part of it. As a business owner, part of the process as well, building a business, you probably don't need a board of, you don't need a board right now. Board of, like I'm on the board of a high-tech company, okay? You need a group of basically advisors that you trust. So there's less liability. Just say, hey, Chad, can you be part of my group? 3 of us will meet once a month, twice a month. I'll pay for dinner. And you know what? I want to pick your brains. Because if you're only thinking in your industry, you're blocking yourself. Because I may not be in the pool business, but HB Pools are one of my clients. I have ideas for Jeremy. I can say, wait a minute, why don't you do this?
Yeah.
Why don't you do this video? Why don't you do it? So the idea is, to me, it's giving back. But as a business, there's so much resources out there. You can Google anything now. But as far as people, let me tell you, if you think, oh my God, I'm not going to get anybody that's going to want to mentor me. No, it is an honor to be asked to mentor.
Absolutely. I can't stress that enough as well. And people are scared to ask, I think, for the rejection. But my experience with and my own personal mentors that I've had over the years, and people, once they've achieved a little bit of success, they want to share. They want to help and nurture, younger. And I don't necessarily just mean younger by age, but people getting into the business, as long as they're humble and, they're not, with this big attitude, I know everything. People are more than willing to teach. It's, I couldn't agree with you more.
If they've got an attitude, I'm sure you don't want to deal with them.
No.
Okay? Because that just shows you there's an issue. Some of the nicest people in the world I have no attitude. Yeah. And I can name you a whole bunch that I'm associated with, that you'd go like, this guy? And if you walked in the room and you don't know who he is, you won't know who he is. Yeah. Because he's not putting in your face. But as far as helping you, oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely. And take their advice. If they give you advice, take it. There's nothing that frustrates me more is I see, some people, I'm not officially mentoring anybody right now, but I get called for advice all the time, and they come back month after month asking the same question, and you can see the solution for them, but they're just not implementing it. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, you see, I would have a hard time with that, because then you're wasting my time, you're wasting your time. I can be politically correct, but I can be direct.
Yeah.
To me is, I'm there to help you. Okay. If I'm investing my time, it's an investment of time in helping you, and you're allowed to disagree with me. You're allowed to do conversations with me. But if we agree that the game plan is going to be such, it's like when I was coaching football, which I've coached at university, city, provincial, it was always, you have to have a game plan. Right. But if we have a game plan together, that it's like my coach. I have a personal coach at Rhapsody, Eric Deschamps. So Eric and I sat down and I said, okay, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Okay. I've had other coaches, Dan Sullivan and others. I said, Eric, this is what I need. Don't take me on this path. Take me here.
Right. That's awesome. So the little bit of the, a section where your business really falls into, is sort of that insurance, the wills and estates, things business owners, we all love doing our business, right? I love doing mortgages and real estate focus and just getting into the weeds. And sometimes we don't stick our heads up and realize, wait a second, I should have these things in place. Um, and then we wait till it's too late. So, just very quickly, what are some of those, those legal things, those kind of products that every entrepreneur, and not just entrepreneur, but people should have?
It starts with a will.
Okay.
Will is a cornerstone of estate planning. And like I say, the challenges with mixed marriages, kids from your marriage, kids from another marriage, it's gut wrenching, but you got to deal with it. So the will itself says, okay, what happens on death? The executor handles this. What happens to the money? Where you may have a spousal trust, you may have trust set up, you may have a family trust. Part of the will is also power of attorney for personal care and property. Okay, so what happens if you get hit by a truck and you can't make business decisions? And I've seen this, trust me, with people that own multiple businesses. They own a holdco, opco, trust, which is the world that I can live in. And I look at it and say, do they have a will? No. And you go like, are you kidding me? So I'm passionate. I've had situations where I've lost a client who's a lawyer that didn't do a will for one of my clients. It took them a year.
Wow.
Well, guess what? I just brought in another lawyer to the house. And this lawyer is senior. We did it at the home.
Yeah.
Now the other lawyer doesn't want to talk to me, but I said, wait a minute, you left my client exposed for a year, and your client to boot, for a year without wills, and the circumstances are such where we needed a will,
right?
Especially power of attorney. So long story short is the client's alive and well, but I brought in a lawyer to do that. So I sacrificed losing a client, but it's the right thing to do.
Absolutely. And even something as simple as, especially small entrepreneurs, if something happens to you and you're the person that signs all the checks, all the payroll, and does your bank know if you get incapacitated, can you make payroll next week? Can somebody sign those checks on your behalf?
Yeah, you don't have power of attorney for personal care and property. Okay, so having this power of attorney really helps you. Okay, so it's not, you're not dying, you're not in a good position, okay, to make decisions. Well, you don't want your business to go under because you could be gone for 3-4 months. Somebody has to be able to do this. So that's that part of it. If you have a partnership, like a shareholder, where you have a corporation, you're three of you, two of you are shareholders, okay? Basically, shareholder agreement. And
Right.
people go, oh, we don't need that. We all get along. I've been around for a long time. I've seen situations where 3 partners, and I said to the lawyer, don't do a 3-month buyout if the person's disabled where he gets shotgun. And the lawyer said, don't worry about it. They're all friends. Friends, mens. No, doesn't work that way. When things are good, you make an agreement. What happens if I get sick? What happens if I die? What happens? Who's allowed to write checks? Those are all components of a shareholder's agreement.
Right.
And it's not out of this world. So when you start a business, let's say you start a business and you got a corporation. Should you incorporate or should you run as a sole proprietor? These are the conversations I have with people. And I'll say, okay, so you're a doctor. We have a professional services corp. How much money do you need to live on? This is 120. How much do you make? X. Okay, we can leave the rest in the professional services corp.
Right.
Who's going to manage that money? What are the investment choices? How does insurance fit into the equation if you get disabled, critically ill, or dying? These are real situations, and trust me, I deal with them weekly. And critical illness, 22% of people actually sell this product. It's if you have a condition, heart attack, stroke, cancer. Currently right now, I have 3 with cancer. One is paid out already, meaning that they're alive, they got the check. The other one, we just found out on Monday.
That's sad.
And again, it does make a difference, but my biggest regret is when I hear a person say, Milan, I should have listened to you. or a person canceled their insurance because they said, well, we don't really need it. 2 months later, guess what? Stage 4 cancer. Can we reinstate the policy? Nah, it doesn't work that way.
No. Absolutely. So a lot of people think setting up some of these things, especially if they're a small business, right? I mean, big shareholder agreements with multiple partners and stuff like that. If it's an operating company is one thing, but a lot of business owners are just starting out. And are these really expensive things to set up?
No, they're not. And where I come in is basically we end up do the prep work. Like, you want your wills? I have a questionnaire for you.
Yeah.
You'll go to your lawyer. I'll explain to you what an executor does, what it is, what all that information. Where the biggest problem is, in estate planning in particular, people say, I'm not rich enough. It's only for the rich. It's not so. So the idea is it doesn't have to be. When you're going to see a lawyer, we have, you probably know, about 40 lawyers in this town.
Yeah.
We have certain ones that we work on a regular basis. There's no financial compensation other than the fact they're giving a fair price to my client. They're giving the attention. I remember one time I was in a meeting, and it wasn't the lawyer that we're working with, and it's a business deal. And the lawyer says to the business partner, who's got franchises all over Canada, I'll get my secretary to get something off the computer for you. I almost fell off my chair. I'm thinking, are you out of your mind? When you're dealing with a business, there's more involved, but it doesn't have to cost you a lot of money. It's not complex. It's complex if you don't deal with it. But for me, it's easy. Hey, we're going to get this. Let me get somebody to get that for you. No problem. Here's the price. It's not this times 2 times 3. This is the price. So, and people we work with are top notch. Okay. But you don't have to go to alphabet houses, which I call the big alphabet houses, to get great advice. There's a lot of good people out there that'll give you amazing advice. And what we do is we help you get to that person.
Oh, that's amazing. That is really amazing. Yeah, on the insurance, on the mortgage side, we see this all the time where, clients will, especially in the residential side, they'll say, oh, I have insurance for my work, and, they're getting a $500,000 mortgage. And I'm like, okay, your insurance is 1 times your salary or 2 times your salary. Well, you make 50 grand, that's 100,000. How's that going to help your family? And they don't, and then they're like, oh, I'm like, here's a financial planner, go see them.
So the challenge, you see, for me is if it's a business owner, that's perfect. Now, Kareem in my office does financial planning. He's a certified financial planner. He'll do the numbers. For me, it's about, okay, when you want to look at life insurance, I have a spreadsheet. Okay, if I die, how much is my mortgage? How much are my loans? I have 4 kids. How much do you want to leave for your kids for education? Might be 50 to 100,000. So we put that in there. Do you want to leave money to charities? Do you have parents that are dependent on you? So when you start going, those are immediate things. So there's a death, you or your wife paid out. Next part is, okay, now you're gone. There's no mortgage, there's none of this, but your income is now stopped. Right. You forget that. So then you say, okay, of your income, how much do you want to give to your spouse? She says, well, I want to give him 6,000. I've had as much as 25,000. Obviously not every client is that big, but so what happens is then we go through down, and then we say, okay, what are available assets? So then he says, okay, home. Well, wait a minute. If you or her die, are you selling your home? No. Okay, well, let's not put that in. RSPs, typically we tell them to roll it over to the other partner because there's no tax consequences. Right. Then we would look at stocks and bonds. Do you want it to register? If it's a business, so let's say if the man or let's say the lady's running the business and it's dependent on her, and she was to die, I would say, okay, what will be the fair market value? What do you think, if you're not here, how much is the business worth? So if she dies, so let's say she says, okay, it's really worth $1 million, but we'll be lucky to get 4. We'll put 400 in her column. So now, if he dies, she still has the business. So we don't have to offset that. So what it is, it's like an offset balance. So when it comes, the number comes down. Again, $1 million is a lump sum, sounds like a lot of money. And it's not a small sum. However, when you start talking about educating the kids, doing this, doing that, it's a real issue.
Oh, absolutely. Especially in 1-income families where, that primary income earner is $1 million, but if that person's making 100 grand a year, that's only 10 years of income. And is that spouse going to be able to replace that income? when you really start pulling it back, like you said, it's a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money.
Yeah, when you break it up, and so my idea is to make sure I do the right numbers. Then we do the numbers, and then people say, well, what kind of insurance? 10-year term, 20-year term, term to 100, universal. You've seen me do this. I give you choices of products, design. We have 18 carriers we're dealing with. Now, on a realistic basis, 5 at any one time: Sun, Manu, Canada, BMO. Those are our main ones. And let's say I vary. But we have all these others. So even Lloyd's of London. So we have a situation where it's a specialty policy that Canadian carriers can't do. So we had a Lloyd's of London policy that, because this person heads up a big project, if he became disabled, after 6 months, $2 million gets paid to the company.
Yeah. Wow. Very interesting. So over the last couple of weeks, we're in the middle of this current pandemic. So depending on when our listeners are listening to this podcast or video, it's sort of the beginning of April here. And you've been on a bunch of calls like I have with some of the executives. How are you feeling for the future? What are you seeing coming down the pipe? And where are you thinking the opportunities for some entrepreneurs might be, 2, 3 months, 6 months, a year from now? How life is changing?
I've been on a number of them with CEOs of companies. I have a group I belong to. It's called the board. I have other ones that I've been on. Some people are doing great. Others are not so great. So our industry has been affected a lot. Whereas, right now to issue a policy, because I can't get a nurse to come to visit you. However, what we did is, at the level that we're dealing with, I'm dealing with directors of insurance companies. They're saying, okay, Milan, we'll do you a favor. If that person's had a blood test in the last 3 to 6 months, we'll use that test.
Right.
So the difference is you can sit here and go, oh my God, the world's coming to an end. Or you can say, wait a minute, what can I do now? Me, I want to get, when I'm at the other end, I want to be a rocket ship. So I'm doing this with you. I've got videos going. And it's not selling. It's helping clients.
Absolutely.
What do you do now? What do you do? I know I'm going to get emails because people are asking me, Milan, what do I do? Can I stop my premiums? Can I do this? Can I do that? Having business owners and professionals as clients, this is a tough time. Really tough time for, especially my clients that are restaurateurs, and I have a good number of them. Now, some are long, been around for 50 years, but still, everybody's hurting.
Yeah, absolutely. And where do you see it happening, like, 6 months from now, once we're out of this? Do you see things changing? Do you see a lot of stuff going back to normal? What's your just instinct? I mean, nobody has a crystal ball, of course, but
I see the business is going to be done differently. I'm hoping that people get normal. That the egos get put aside and people just kind of remember what happened here, how vulnerable we are. Yeah. Right now, last number of years, again, you send a person an email, they don't respond for a month, or whatever, right? Yeah. Even people and you're going, well, what's your problem? Just get on an email. Just email me or text me, not today, not tomorrow, whenever. I hope that changes. Yeah. And I hope people are more reasonable as to how we can work together, how we can help each other. Not just me. But where do I see is you got to have a plan. And my plan is, while this is going on, do whatever I can, help whoever I can, open myself to the public, even if they're not my clients. What do you need? How can we help you? Right. Or you can just sit there and just wait till the whole thing ends. And that's not what we do.
No, absolutely. You know what? And we're very similar. I believe in the same thing as well, helping people. And we've been fielding calls from our clients and other clients when it regards their mortgages and other things. And should they do a deferral? Should they not? And, and I put this out in a few videos as well, is if you need help, ask for it and get it. Help's available, especially in the finance world right now. But if you don't need it, don't take it. Because you're standing in line in front of somebody else. It's like I put this out in the video. It's like hoarding toilet paper. If you're hoarding money, you're not helping the economy. You're not helping the banks. be dealing with their liquidity crisis and the thing that they have going on.
One of the things that I hope, I still think, even though we're contained to our homes, as I mentioned, is how can I help?
Yep.
I had a client of mine call on behalf of one of their employees that's going through a financial crunch.
Yeah.
And I know Mark Rollo and Doyle Saliski. So I gave Mark a call. I said, Mark, you guys connect. Boom. Mark will help your client out. So knowing where to go, the problem is people don't know where to go, and they're embarrassed to ask. Again, my hope is when we get to the other end, the people kind of get real, and they start caring about other people. It's not about what's in it for me. So that's my hope.
Absolutely. And I think, I'm always a glass half full kind of guy. And I think we're going to see a lot of that. It's interesting in the grocery stores that you can't find yeast and you can't find white flour or whole wheat flour because people are baking again. And that kind of caught a lot of the grocery stores by surprise because nobody expected that. And now, baking cookies with your kids is fun. Maybe we don't need to go do all these activities. We'll just bake some cookies together.
Yeah, the world has changed, and you're at home and you're going, okay, wait a minute, I'm still able to do some things where you're running with your pants on fire. As a small to medium-sized business owner, typically you're busy, but do we really need to be? My wife always used to say, Lisa would say, Milan, you're busy for staying busy, and sometimes probably just because it's a habit. I gotta go. I gotta get something done. So the idea is what we learn from this is structure your business, and that the business is not only solely dependent on you, which is tough to do for a small business.
Because it's very tough to do. I've been on that journey, and it's taken me almost 2 years now to get close to that. I'm not quite there yet, but I recently took a vacation for the first time in a while that I could turn off my phone completely. I didn't check in for an entire week. And that's the first time I did that in probably 3 years.
Well, see, congratulations. Many business people, that's the difficult part. Yeah. And again, I go on vacation. Catherine, my senior associate of 25 years together, she goes, leave your phone behind. Leave your phone behind. So, and I trust her to do everything I need her to do. However, it is that habit. So we need to change. Part of it is, I guess, if you're asking, is also change some of our habits.
Yeah, very true. One of the goals on my vision board is be able to take 2 months off consecutively. So I know that's a little ways away or quite a ways away, but that's where I'm trying to get to. And and we start implementing processes, right? Planning, like you said, make a game plan.
Yeah, that's the key. That's the key is have a game plan, and if you, like they say, if you don't know where you're going, never going to get there. So the idea is you have a vision, you have a plan. I had a plan, but there's also things that happen. You take a look at this virus. Throughout, I was having an amazing year, and now we're sitting there. I've got files, large one, and a number of them, but I can't do anything about. And so now I'm learning to figure things out. I'm dealing with directors of insurance companies to get stuff done. And you go like, wait a minute. And there's good people where the person says, here's my cell phone. This is a VP of one of the biggest insurance companies in Canada. And he says, here's my cell phone if you need something.
Right.
So you go, there's some really good people out there. So it's gotten, so you got to do things differently nowadays. So, but the idea is, I think is the idea is that you don't have to do everything, but there are good people that are willing to help. You got to remember that.
Absolutely. And small businesses or large, like one of the things I've noticed in the financial sector is we've had a lot of institutions. I was on a call a couple of days ago that within 24 hours of this lockdown, they moved 1,000 staff members from their office into working virtually within 24 hours. And they were 100% operational. They had a contingency disaster plan that was there. And, they were fully operational. Wow, that's very impressive.
Well, you take a look at here locally, Shopify.
Yeah.
What is it, 5,500 employees? They were remote before any of this stuff.
Yeah.
So you go like, okay, obviously there's people that are thinking, but we've never been hit with anything like this.
No.
So in the future, okay, so as a business owner, you're going to the future, okay, how can I weather the storm? What do I need to do? How am I going to do this?
Yeah.
Like I have a brand new office we just moved into. Um, I was there maybe for 3 days.
Yeah.
And everybody's working remotely. It's working great. Thank God for our computerized systems, because we have professionals. It's not a single person doing it.
Right.
Now, at the level is, you have to merge this email, that email. Like, I'm not a ticket guy. I don't want to deal with that. It's like, it's just like, it's like one of my clients who's Denzel Doyle said, he was in the 70s when I met him, and he says he was dealing with somebody, and the guy started telling him, well, and he said, I told him, don't give me the birthing pains, just give me the baby.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, listen, Milan, thank you very much. I appreciate this has been an amazing, amazing podcast and interview. Some really great tips. I think I can summarize it by saying, for entrepreneurs, watch the business ADD. We all have it as an entrepreneur. We all think we can do everything, and make a game plan. And really, that's what I'm hearing a lot from you. And unfortunately, do some of those things we hate to do. It's like taxes and do your wills and
Yeah. Yeah.
so thank you very much, and every my listeners, all Milan's contact information will be in the show notes. Feel free to reach out to him. He's an amazing resource and generally an amazing human being.
Thank you. Appreciate it. God bless.